good evening, friends and family of Seeded Harvest. Welcome to our first official broadcast of Fix My Crown. And I want to introduce myself. I'm Lynae Richardson, owner and founder of Seeded Harvest. And Seeded Harvest began about hmm, 3 years ago, was made manifest, branded, and all of that, was given a vision. God tell me what to do, and I sat on it. But I don't believe that we sit on things for the sake of sitting on it. Part of it was fear. Absolutely not going to deny that. But the other part is that timing is everything. And the reason why Seeded Harvest is because we have life journeys, and there's life journeys plant seeds in our life, but then at some point it reaps a harvest. For some it doesn't feel like it's an amazing or rewarding harvest, and then for others it feels like it's an absolute part of our destiny and purpose. And sometimes we don't even understand that it was actually destiny and purpose until we get onto the other side of it. And so tonight, this evening, we're just going to have a very candid conversation about what seeds were planted in our lives, and then what that harvest has looked like over the years, the decades. So it's just a discussion about our journey. It's a safe space. It's somewhere where we're going to be absolutely comfortable and free. As you can see, I'm sitting on a couch and I'm totally relaxed in an environment where we want you to be able to appreciate the space that we're in, because not many of us have an opportunity to tell our stories.
Mhm.
We used to have testimony service at church, and that went away, and then friends and family betray us, and we don't have an opportunity to tell somebody else unless it's in the middle of a crisis. And so tonight, this is a safe space. We're going to have guests from week to week, month to month, to be able to just discuss what their journeys were. And my guest tonight, Lisa Wingood of Inspire Lisa, um, is one of those individuals who've been a part of my journey. We have an individual story, and we also have a collective story. So we're going to talk about what that journey has looked like. And everybody, let's welcome Lisa. Send hearts, send likes, and all of those things to absolutely welcome her into our space. And we thank you for your time, Lisa. We absolutely love and adore you. And we really want to welcome you in and give you an opportunity to introduce yourself. Inspire Lisa. Why does Inspire Lisa exist? How did you get there? And it's not going to be a formal interview of sorts, more than it's going to be, let's just share about who we are and what we do.
Mhm. Yes, thank you, Lynae, for having me as your first guest. I am so honored. I am so excited to see this come to fruition. And you know, this is just the whole peak of seeding harvest is that you seeded this idea, and now to see it come to harvest is like the journey of a plant. Like I get it now, right? um
Yes.
and so just before I even start talking about myself, which is like given a resume, I'm not going to do that. But I am inspired by even the the sunflowers that Lynae and I did not realize were in my brand, and they're
Yeah.
in her brand. So
Yeah.
there is like this synergetic, I don't know, this alignment, so to speak, of
Definitely.
even before, we even knew this to be possible, that we already just started this little path, right? So Inspire Lisa actually just came from my just I had to think of a name for my yoga classes, and I didn't know what to call it, and it didn't dawn on me. I didn't spend too much time with it, but it just kind of spoke to me as I inspire myself, therefore I want to inspire those around me in my circle. Those are, even in my yoga practices, but far beyond that is in anything that I do. So that
Yeah.
that name kind of speaks to me. And then as I start playing around with it, like I designed my own brand. So,
Awesome.
right. And then now I have my own website called inspireyogalisa.com. And
Everybody's
now I'm able to not just have people book, my classes, but now I'm going off into sound bath and yoga. I'm having my first one on April the 20th at the museum.
I
So,
love it.
I'm just, I don't know where this is going to take me, but my hope is that it does continue to, grow energy and reach other lives and touch hearts and just inspire people to be their best selves.
Of course.
So, yeah.
And Lisa, you would say that it spoke to you, but it embodies everything that you are. Like, guys, again, this is a very safe space. Lisa and I have journeyed through some stuff, and so I'm going to be very candid and share. There was a time where I didn't understand or appreciate Lisa's inspiration, her inspire, her energy, her love of self, her love of people. It actually used to annoy me, right, Lisa?
Yes. Yes.
And I came up with what I thought, honestly, at that time, I didn't know that it was a touchy subject. I didn't know that I was being incivil, as one might say nowadays. And so I used to say, "Oh, here comes Lisa with a kumbaya moment."
Right.
As she was robbing me, right, Lisa? What
Mhm.
the wrong way with the kumbaya? I was robbing her by using even that term, kumbaya. And
Yeah.
it was that started, right, the relationship of sorts. And
Mhm.
um and I fully appreciate and understand, but it took us a way to get her.
Yeah.
Like, how did we get her?
Yeah, and it was funny too, Lynae, because I remember the word sensitive. You're so
Mhm.
sensitive.
Mhm.
And remember one time I said, it's the way you describe that, it's not
Yeah.
like a nice word.
Yeah.
It's almost like silly. But I also had another colleague who called me hairy fairy. It was a British
Really?
term. I was like, what does that mean? So it's like I was just being exposed to these words. And then another friend of mine who works here, we used to teach a class together. And one day she called me Miss Blonde. She said, you're
Really?
so
Oh,
blonde. And sometimes she does it for today. I don't think she's on this platform, but you know who you are.
yeah.
And once a first person wrote on their evaluations that it's not nice to call someone blonde, like it's not, it's a
Oh,
derogatory term. So I was like, I
yeah.
don't think people understand the power of their words, but I kind of got it when I used to kind of reflect on, how I was and knowing that other people were so different. But
Right.
it just made me feel like put me back in my childhood as yeah, slightly bullying, but not
Right.
but in a fun way. Because if I go home, I'm say, yeah, you're like that, but you're funny. Like,
Right.
we love you like that. Like, don't change. Like,
Right.
it's okay, right? And
Right.
then my family, who only know me to be that, would just be like, here comes Lisa. She not only is like that, she cooks like that. Like, we don't know what we're gonna get at the family picnic because this girl's gonna make up something. They call me a la Lisa. Like she's gonna bring a dish and it's a Allah because we don't know what the heck it is, and she
Really?
can't even tell us what's in it because she made it up. So it's all of that, right? So just know it followed me, and I just learned to kind of embrace it, even with yourself, in like sensitive, but you weren't you weren't disrespectful. Like I felt distance when we did have our moment of not speaking. Me and Lynae went to some
Of
real
course.
womenhood stuff,
Of
but the
course.
beauty of it is that we recognized it. Like, do you remember the conversation that we had one time?
We've
That
had
was
many
we have
conversations.
many.
Absolutely. I want us to absolutely have those conversations now
Yes, but
because
it was
women, we don't
beautiful, right?
talk enough. It was beautiful, but it was a difficult conversation
Mm,
because we had to get to, so Lisa, we had to get to the root of it. So we used to walk down the corridor and it was kind of like,
mm,
if I could not speak, I'm not gonna speak. And this is as grown women. But I will speak for myself. I was hurt and I
mm.
didn't quite understand why I was hurt, what that came from, until you and I had that difficult conversation. But it was
Hmm.
a beautiful conversation.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, it was. So the term that I now use is courageous conversation because it took
Mm-hmm.
so much courage to address it and approach it. And what you may not know, Lynae, I don't know if I told you this, but here we go. Before we had that conversation in the second floor, remember I was calling you said, hey, we need to talk. I
Yeah.
actually got coached by somebody who took out your disc profile and took out my
Mm.
disc and compared. We are so opposite on the spectrum, which speaks to disc, right? Your
Yes.
dominance and my influencing normally do this,
Yeah.
driven and an influencer. So fluffy, direct. And they drew this picture that had a dot. And they said, this is your first conversation. And then they drew a little arch and said, this is your second conversation. And they
Mm.
said, and you're going to continue. So what Lynae doesn't appreciate is promises that can't be kept. She doesn't appreciate a lot of language that she doesn't understand. So you
Yeah.
can't like fluff it up and say
Yeah.
these words that for her it's like, what does that mean?
Yeah.
Like say it, just come out. So
Yeah.
it was a picture of how I'm gonna deal with Lynae. And there were other people we drew a picture like this dot here, this person, you have to go like that. Like, so it was just interesting. I never practiced what I was gonna say, but I said, okay, so I'm gonna make the request, I'm gonna book the room, and we're gonna go. And that's
Yeah.
how I had to start it. So it was like being courageous. And
Yeah.
then once I got there, um, that we would speak our piece. And I remember saying to myself, but you can't blame because you're not going to receive it. Like if I was
Sure.
like, look, you made me do this and you
Sure.
made me do that. And that's the mistake a lot of us make when
Sure.
we think it's telling off and it
Mm-hmm.
serves no purpose,
None
right? It's
whatsoever.
like earning, but it could be like when you did this made me feel, but I can't remember like how we came into that presence. But
Mm-hmm.
going back to the not speaking stuff, I I always say to myself, I'll never let another woman make me sweat. So even if I see people that I'm not really I'm trying to avoid them, but I'm not trying to like cut my eyes and
Right.
right. I always
Right.
say to myself, like I'm laughing, but I can't laugh because you
Right.
made a decision. You're not going to speak. And
Absolutely.
but but it in its reflection, it does speak. Lynae, we can be adults, but we also have stuff. Like even when we say as grown women, as grown men, we have child actions, we have teenage actions, and some of us are just comfortable doing that.
Yeah.
And sometimes it speaks to why.
Yeah.
What am I getting out of this?
And because we haven't dealt with whatever that was, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it shows up in our adult everyday life, and we throw the word adult around like we've arrived and grown, but we have so much to heal from,
And so
and
much to unpack.
and so much to unpack. I had
Mm-hmm.
I had someone say to me one time, um, can you see your ears? They were giving me some criticism. And they were like, "Can you see your ears?" I said, "Absolutely not." I said, "But if I look in a mirror, they can." But they said, "I'm your mirror."
Oh.
And I received that so well. Um, but I've been able to receive these sorts of things because of people like you who have
Mm.
had those courageous conversations, who've lived courageously and was willing and has been willing rather to share what that has looked like for you. Like, I've been through life. Things have hurt me. Things have challenged me. Things have inspired me. People have encouraged me along the way, and you were willing all the time to share what that looked like. Like, I
Mm.
remember last year you shared with me, I think it was last year. Every day seems like it's rolling into another, right? But you shared with me, and if you're willing to talk about it, great. And just by
Mm-hmm.
the way, everybody, Lisa and I have not coached any of this, but I want you to know how much you've encouraged and inspired me because um, my pastor would always say that God and therapy go hand in hand. And
Mm.
I believe it to be so true. Like, I have no issues with sitting on a couch now. I have no issues about being vulnerable because people like you and she, even rather, made it okay and welcoming. And you told me about a journey that you ran on, and you have no idea how much that inspired me as a woman.
Mm.
And it helped me to be more vulnerable, not just with you, but other people, about being okay with sharing my story.
Mm. Oh, wow, Lynae.
Yeah, when you did
Wow.
the online course and you were,
Mm.
I was like, you, like, with complete strangers, you were just
Mm.
telling business.
Yes. Yes, that was absolutely the thing that is so it was scary
Yeah.
for me, but I end up being a coach in that same program,
Mm,
and it was harder being a coach. Oh my
really?
goodness. But it taught me a lot more. And what that program did is kind of unravels a lot of the stories that you make up in your mind, all the BS that you made up and you believe and you
Yeah.
carry it. And it really helped to unravel it with people that you don't know. But
Yeah.
also, they were able to give you feedback and say, they always used to say, my experience of you is this. My experience of you is that you are playing low. My experience of you is that you are being shy. My experience of you is that you are hiding. My experience of you are not unleashing your full potential. My experience of you. And so, and this was first impressions. And I was like, these lot don't know me. But every time I went to a different, it was like hundreds of us, I
Right.
got the same feedback. So that was evidence of how I was showing up to people I don't know, which
Right.
also speaks to my really good friends. So you know how we have circles of people,
Oh,
and they used to say, "Yeah, you high, like you I don't know, it's like your self esteem is shot, like you act like
really?
people don't really know that you are beautiful, but in your head you've told yourself that you're not, and that's how you show up. You hide." And I was like, okay, that's enough. So at this age, like I get to realize that and speak life into myself. And I'm
Right.
still getting onto that whole journey of the stories. Like Lynae doesn't like me. Like that's the story I told myself because she called
Right.
me sensitive. She says I'm
Right.
kumbaya. I mean, one time, I don't think it was really directed with me, but you was like, yeah, people having, degrees are getting these jobs. And I was like, is she talking about me? Because I just got my bachelor's, but I don't think she's talking about me. But it was like, no, that's maybe this. Look, now I'll say that was the story. I made it about myself. She didn't say that it was you. She's just making a statement about maybe how we were moving. I can't remember the details.
So funny
Right?
enough, Lisa, there's where my own insecurities showing up.
Mm,
Those were my insecurities showing up. And I
right.
didn't know, I don't think at that time, that you had just gotten your bachelor's. It was
Mm,
coincidental. And my
yeah.
insecurities were showing up as a woman because I don't have a degree. And
Right.
climbing the corporate ladder, if it were, but I don't have a degree. And
Yeah.
there were, but my fight has looked so much different as a result
Hmm.
of not having a degree.
Yeah.
So, and every space that I went into, I heard women, primarily women, and my colleagues who knew they knew my value. They knew what I brought to the table.
Right. And
They
look at
knew
you
in my
now.
office and or in my space and garner information and glean from me. And these
Mm,
women who were saying I'm not qualified and I need
yes.
this and I need that.
I
So
remember.
was my own insecurity.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
I knew
so,
that.
yeah, that's
Yeah,
what
I
that
definitely knew that. So it wasn't that, but it was really the things that, we all had like a vantage point of what we were seeing. I was seeing people in authority with all sorts of degrees acting up, treating
was.
others disrespectful. And, you know, I was trying to figure out a way how are we going to survive because you came in the door and I love your journey. I'm sure you're going to share that in somewhere, but I
Yeah.
absolutely got it because you did amazing and you still are climbing without the title of what everybody else thinks you should
Yeah.
have. Like you have the innate wisdom. I remember listening to you talk one time and I was like, I'm gonna go read a book and learn those types of words because Lynae knows how to thread some words together, and you still do. You have an amazing way of articulating a point, describing a strategy, describing just organize just anything, and you just don't realize just how comfortable you are in your oratory skills. But
Thank
I
you.
was thinking I'm gonna go read and get a little course up in her just to talk like Lynae, just so
Oh,
knowledgeable. It don't
oh,
even, and it's not even just knowledge,
thank
is your
you.
wisdom.
Thank
And
you.
you've definitely had that impact on me. No degrees necessary.
No degrees necessary. Now, I will say, and thank you for that, Lisa. Thank you for continuously fixing my crown. Thank you for always
Yes.
supporting. And and it's so amazing because I remember at one point in life I would have felt like, oh, that's fake. They're just being no,
Mm-hmm.
like I know that you mean that. I
Mm-hmm.
know that you are that woman,
Yeah.
in my space and in my life. And it's so interesting. So everybody, I am embarking on a degree.
Yay for you.
Yay! It has that insecurity has gone. That insecurity came from not doing well in school and having people along the way tell me that I wasn't good enough. Having
Oh.
teachers tell me that you're not gonna get it. You just and dismiss me. Um, and then having parents. I had a mother who worked um, multiple jobs, and if she didn't work multiple jobs, she did shift work, and
Mm-hmm.
she wasn't readily available, not because she didn't want to, but because she
Right.
couldn't. She was trying to keep food on the table. I had a father who absolutely had rejected me at an early age. I had no idea who my father was, so I didn't have the opportunities to
Right.
be able to know my self-worth, know my value, and be able to appreciate and sit in my seat as I do now.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
so to be able to say, okay, well, I barely made it through high school. There is absolutely no way I'm gonna start talking about a degree. And then I did after I came out of high school, I did enroll at Bermuda College. But by this time, I knew both my parents, right?
Mm-hmm.
My dad had come into my life, but there were deficiencies. God rest his soul, and he
Yeah.
would have no problem me talking about this. But there were things that just weren't made available. So when I went to pay school fees, it wasn't there. Not to mention that because I had self-esteem issues and value it, all of that,
Right.
I was at my boyfriend's house. Like, I'm not trying to go to school. I'm not even gonna do well because I had all of this negative voices in
Yes.
my head.
Right.
And
You
the
framed
college,
that.
I
Hmm.
had framed it. And my entry to college said that I had to take like these remedial classes because, and so that added to how I was feeling, right?
Right.
And so
They
it just
followed you.
yes. And so when people start talking about a degree, I'm like, I don't want a degree because I was really scared. I was scared about,
Mm-hmm.
and I still am. But I know that my life journey has prepared me for the academic excellence that
Mm-hmm.
I'm embarking upon now.
Yes, Lynae, you are a testament. Is that something that you're gonna wait to say what that is, or
In terms of
before?
my academic journey.
As far as the thing that is about to happen
Oh,
through?
so no, I'm not going to share
Yeah.
that just
Okay, okay. To dot dot dot. But
yet.
yes,
To be
yeah. To be
continued.
continued.
To
Just
be
know
continued.
it's
There is
not
more to
stopped.
there
Yeah.
is
The
yeah, there's a
stairs.
backstory before the story now.
Yes.
Yeah.
The story still climbs. And
It's
this is like one of the amazing things. I feel like you are a book, right? So I've seen you in different chapters. And the very first one will be like the very first thing that you did when you came to the organization,
like,
carrying the tray. And everybody has that type of vision of you.
yeah,
And then seeing, all these pieces of you. And you are a plethora of amazing talent as well. But what I do appreciate you from about you, Lynae, is that you share your heart so openly. Like
Yeah.
that vulnerability that you have, that you share, is so raw, it's so rich, and
Yeah.
it's almost like magical in a sense, because we don't do that often. I feel like as women sometimes we want to just only wear the crown and
Anyone?
never have it crooked,
Right.
right? Because we
We
only want to
portray
fix it.
yeah,
Yes.
we
But
portray the thing.
absolutely. But you share that, and sometimes sharing your vulnerability. So that's something that I don't do very often. And I think that's that guard, right? Like being too vulnerable allows people to judge me, and that's kind of like, how I share my stuff. And then so in the course that I did, it's like taking you back to like your childhood pains, because that's where it all comes from, like you said.
Right.
And I have a few memories. I have a brother. I think my very first painful experiences, I had a 2-year-old brother. I have a picture of him in my office. He
I
was
didn't
2, I
know
was
that.
3, and he died. And I
Please.
kind of watched
Oh,
that whole
I'm
scenario happen. Um, you know, he still lives in me. Like, I use his name in different things. His name was Broccoli. My mom doesn't really appreciate me always talking about it, but I just feel like that was also a sweet memory. It's like a first best friend, and
yeah.
and he died so young. And um and then I visited his grave, I think last year, and I told my mom, I said, he was talking to me. She's like, oh no, what are you saying? And I said, his birth date is wrong on his grave site. That can't be his birth date. You guys have him born the wrong year. And
Oh,
I
really?
said, and I've been there all this time, and I think he spoke that to me. But like, it's the part that doesn't feel eerie, doesn't feel scary. But I remember him in his coffin. I remember all the neighborhood children dressing in their sailor suits, just like him. Like, it's the first memory. I was 3.
You
I
were
was
3.
3. And I remember that like a grown up.
That's so
So
interesting.
yeah, it is. And I wrote about that memory in one of my college courses, and I got an A because it's as if like the reader felt the experience. So that's like the whole thing about abandonment. I feel
Yeah,
like I can't trust people. They're going to leave me.
that
I
makes sense.
feel men will do that from that experience. I don't want anyone to get that close. And if they do, it's for a season and goodbye, because I'm afraid I'm going to be abandoned. And it just shed a lot. And I'm sure a couch therapist conversation will help me through that as well. And so yeah, that's the earliest memory. So like I carry him, right? That's my brother Barkley. That's me.
Okay, this is the first time we talked about Barkley.
Yeah. So people talk about loss of children.
Yeah.
Um, I would know that would be painful for my parents.
Yes.
And I know that's why they don't talk about it, except you will have the memories of he used to beat you up all the time. He was 2, you were 3, he beat you up. And I was like, yeah, I remember that being so much fun. And then he was gone. And then it was me.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's just kind of like unwrapping things from that. And that's a lot of how, like I said, it's hard for me to really trust people. Trust is my big
Mm,
thing.
mm.
And it's because I just feel like you're gonna be nice, and the next minute, something's happened. And that's kind of like the
That's
journey
interesting.
of, yeah, of friendship circles coming and going,
Yeah,
people coming and going in and out of your life. And it's at this point, I'm like, the people that actually have left, thank you for
really,
leaving.
really. And you don't demonstrate that. Like, I
Mm,
see you as from the outside looking in. I see you. And even then, those were my insecurities that showed up when we had challenges. But I see you as this strong, confident woman who shows up every time as her authentic self.
whew.
I don't see you as closed. I don't see you as the vulnerable person that you've been speaking about with your own challenges and
Mm,
insecurities. So I feel like you've grown even in that because
mm.
you absolutely talk about it and move on to the next step. I appreciate the fact that you've even said maybe sitting on a couch is probably going to be a great thing of sorts.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
because
yeah, I know that
I value
is.
my time with my therapist. I have an
Yes.
appointment March 20th, the same
Mm.
we have physical checkups, we should absolutely make sure we're getting annual mental health checkups because
Absolutely, Lynae. Yes, I
it's
agree.
important.
BetterHelp.com helped me deal with Christmas. I
Mm.
could not stand Christmas, but it was becoming,
Really?
yes, if my birthday is Boxing Day. And
We've
my
had these
child,
conversations.
right? Didn't we talk about this, right? I like our kitchen conversations, Lynae. I think we had
What's the kitchen?
the kitchen.
What's the kitchen?
I right? I definitely feel like it was just such a organic, whatever it was, and I mean, we was feeling like this is like home.
Yeah,
It's like the sisterhood that we just felt
that's
so
it. That's
comfortable.
absolutely it.
Yeah, just rolling with that. But what else I was saying just now? Oh, Christmas. And
Christmas.
and I noticed my children stopped liking Christmas too. And I said, "Oh my God, I'm having an effect on them." And if people were forcing me to put like ornaments on a tree, that used to drive me nuts.
Yeah.
And anyway, it's a lot around the whole Christmas vibe, but I also knew I had some childhood anger problems with a family member who was also angry, who I found out later on that they lost their mother around Christmas. They would display that
Wonderful.
behavior to me as a child. So anyway, betterhelp.com. Dot
BetterHelp.com.
com. That was my on the
BetterHelp.com.
go therapist because you were able to, and it definitely people used it a lot during COVID,
Yeah.
right? But it
Yeah.
helped me to deal with Christmas. So I'm not gonna say like I am Santa Claus right now, but I definitely have a different approach because of that. So that was my real only I've had therapy before, but this is the one I would go back to
Okay.
because it's so accessible. But you're
Understood. And
right. A lot of people have it. A lot of people are
it's
using it.
comes around every year, right? For you, it's coming
Mhm.
around every year. Like it wasn't, it had a schedule. It showed up every year at the same time. And so you had to
Yeah.
address it and deal with it. And but you've also found like a way around it. I think we remember having that, I remember us having the conversation about how you've navigated dealing with Christmas and just doing things differently and putting things
Yeah.
into perspective, right?
Yeah. Yeah, like going swimming on Christmas
So
Day
that's it.
is
And
a
you started
must.
a tradition, right? Isn't it now like
Yes, I
thing?
I try to go. It's every year. I mean, this year I had the whole red earring, Santa Claus hat. I
I
even
know.
enrolled a mutual friend that we have to join me.
Yeah.
And
See, did
she
she
was
join
like,
you?
she came
She
and
came,
she
but she
jumped
was
over
at the
with
water.
me.
Really?
Yeah.
I love it. I wouldn't have jumped in the water with you though. I'm not doing it. Mm-mm.
If you come to one of my parties,
So here's what's crazy, right? You know how our parents leave scars, good and bad.
mhm. Mhm.
So my grandmother, I have this memory, you know, that you didn't get in the water until the sun crossed the water.
Yes, the
The sun crossed
line.
the
The
line.
line, yes,
And
June
it's like, there's
21st.
no way I'm getting in the water before June
Oh,
21st. My
that.
mother would have a fit. My
Mm.
mother would beat me. Like there's a childhood memories. There's no way you're getting in the water before. So I don't, I'm still a little traumatized. I
Really,
don't
Lynae?
know
And
therapist.
you wouldn't even do that? Like, even if it's hot in 24th of May? No? Even if you go away? If you went somewhere tropical and it was hot?
So I'm not going anywhere tropical though, because
Oh,
and I don't like the heat.
that makes sense.
I am
Yeah.
I'm a winter girl. Give this weather right now has been my
Ye
best.
really? Yeah.
Yes,
Oh, I didn't.
I don't like the summertime. I'm dreading it. Dreading it.
Oh my God, it's gonna be really hot. That's the thing to jump over and embrace the
So her
coolness.
and her squirts was so crazy. I don't even really swim in the summertime now
Mm.
because it's so much work. This,
Oh,
this black girl magic, this is straight right now.
oh,
Summertime, it
right.
does the poof and it does
Yes. And that's
and
when you do your raps because you rocked some stuff, some raps.
it's
You
too
made it
much work.
funky. Yeah.
So
And isn't that amazing how we get attached to the hair, right? The hair is important, but it
right,
stops us from doing
it
things that
stops us
free
from.
us.
So hers was crazy. So two things. So I don't know if you know this about me, but the fact that I sit on a couch right now has to do with rejection, right? So
Mm.
because of my father stuff that we spoke about earlier, I have this very interesting memory of my father. And I always had a thought that he lived in this particular house, and that and that one day he was going to show up,
Mhm.
and it just never happened. And he
Oh.
never lived in that house. It was so weird, but it has impacted me as an adult, because when I'm vying for things, competing, um, it has been another one of my insecurities slash reject. It all comes from rejection,
Mm.
because he didn't welcome us into his life, because he had a whole nother family and story and whatever. So my sister and I, who by
That's
the way
right.
is 3 days older than me,
Yes, I met at your party.
we were
Jeez.
in that same class and didn't know that we were sisters, right?
Unbelievable.
Got into a fight, and her aunt was like, "We have got to tell these girls the truth,"
Did you
right?
look
So
like her? You look like her a little bit.
yes, like
Yes, a
we
lot of it.
sister by 3 days, but I feel
Mm.
like we're almost twins. And
Yeah.
people are like, "Really? That's your sister?" Love, 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 love her though. Like,
Mm.
um, I appreciate, because there's a connectivity, because I don't have siblings outside of my father. I'm my mother's only child. So I
Right.
don't have other siblings. So it gives me a sense of belonging, because there's more than just me outside of me,
Mm.
right?
Yes, it's the DNA that you have.
It's the DNA that I have. And so that has been that's a very interesting story, that at some point through,
Yeah.
it's another one of those seeds, right?
Yes,
It's another one
absolutely.
of those seeds.
And it's no more siblings that you don't know about. Like everyone's been exposed to you at this point in your life.
So there are 6
Yeah.
of us in total, which is also
Oh.
my favorite number. So 7 is my favorite number, because I believe that it's the number of completion based on my belief.
Mhm.
And so there are 5 boys, 5 men now, and two girls. She's born
Mm.
November 11th, 1973.
Okay.
Born November 15th, 1973.
Wow, Lynae, so the mamas were in the hospital together.
Mamas, my mama tells this story that one was leaving, and one, was that whole,
Right.
yeah.
And how did the daddy deal with that?
I don't know that that man was around.
Okay. I was gonna say, come see this baby. See
I
that
don't.
baby.
I have one picture of my father in my childhood space that I can remember. Um,
Mm.
and it was
Oh,
apparently like my second birthday or something.
yeah.
Yeah,
At
like
least
my
he,
birthday party.
right. So he was
Yeah.
there during some early
Some
stage.
portion. But yeah,
Yeah.
once I guess I was old enough to know better,
Yeah, that's
they boys
amazing.
jetted.
Girl, see how the impact of, your parents in your life or the
Sure.
absence of a parent in your life. And I think that's what I took for granted, I guess, when started to go to school and notice, how people didn't have a dad. Most people had a mom, but some people had dads. And I also saw that happening in my class where two brothers found out they were brothers. And I was like, what is that? Because I have my two parents, you know? And
Right.
oh my gosh, that made me question, like, to my daddy, you have any children? Because it seems like people got, finding
Right.
their brothers and sisters. And he went to he was in London for a while in his 20s. And I said, yeah, and if you ever die, I just want to know before that, before anybody from England tries to come forward to take anything, do you have any kids? It's like, no, I don't. I said, okay, good, because
Have
that's
you
his story.
It is, and it's interesting that you saw it one way versus how we would have looked, or I would have looked at you. I was like, that's so cool. Like, she has both her parents. I wish I had both.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, absolutely. They got married. They're still married. They're still
I
living
love it.
for 60 something years.
I
And
love love. Yes. Come on. Are they
yes.
still like in love? Are they like in love?
If
Married?
oh, I would love my mama to be listening to this. She'll be like cracking up. But she was 18, he was 28.
Mhm.
So she was like a child bride, and she had lost her mom early. So my dad was like a father, husband figure, but he is her rock. He cannot exist without this
See?
woman
I love
who is
that.
so vibrant. And she'll say, be careful if you marry an old man. One day you're going to outlive them because you're going to have more energy. So, my mom is my oldest yoga student. She comes to my
Really?
classes, she does it all.
I love
She loves that, that I am her teacher, and we have
this.
a sense of community. And when she's not there, everyone's always asking for her. But yeah, my dad, I mean, they look really good together too as a couple.
Good.
Um, so yeah, kind of like distant relatives, but anyway, I kind of look like both of them.
That's
And
good. Like,
I have a
it's
brother.
true.
People do not know that I have a brother. They think I'm an only child, but I have a full-grown brother
How old
who's
is
still
he? Do you
like my baby. He's like 50. Oh, don't get mad at me. Born in 1972, so that makes him 50 something.
1972. So no, I'm 73. So that's 60. Is that 61?
1971
I'm
he
70.
was born. Oh, he was born
Oh,
in
1971.
1971.
Oh,
Born
70.
in 19 Yeah.
Okay, sorry, I thought you said 61.
No, you were born in 1973, he said.
Mm, mhm,
Okay. Yeah,
mhm.
so that's my brother who came, 7 years later after my first brother died.
Oh, wow.
But you
How did
can
you
only
do that? How did
Hmm?
you connect having lost a brother? How did you connect? Like, what was that like for you now having to, did that bring on some of the trauma from
No,
having
I
lost?
think I still think of this brother as my baby. Like, he's a grown man. He's a big teddy bear. He's so tall, but I still look out for him. Like, I remember when he got married, I was signing our parents like Christmas cards from me and him. I think his wife had said, like, I already have a card from us. And I was like, oh, right. He belongs to you. Because I'm signing like from your children. Lisa
You
and
were
Garen, like, we
like,
love you. Your little
"Mm,
babies. Like, no, we got this. You
right."
can do your own cards. So it was like the replacement brother,
You were
that I
there, like, you were at the wedding. You saw this happen.
right, yeah. But I just for some reason I just and and I have a daughter. I have two daughters, but one of my daughters looks just like my brother. And so people will always think, that is that your brother's child? I said, it's my child. And she'll
Right,
say, that's so weird that they think that my uncle is my dad. But
right.
but he's still like my big child. But yeah, that's it's interesting. And I remember thinking, I do not want daughters because I was a daddy's girl.
Okay.
Like, I don't want nobody competing for my space. And
Okay.
at that time, my husband,
Mm,
I didn't want to have to compete with a daughter for that space. This is my
right.
analogy of how I grew up as
Yeah,
a
yeah, how you
daughter.
yeah.
And then work God blessed me with two beautiful daughters who they say, are you okay that we're here now? It's like, yes.
Amazing daughters doing
Yeah.
amazing
Thank
things.
you. So
Yes.
I am fine with it all, and they take, really good care of me. But I still remain to be my daddy's little baby girl.
So, Lisa,
So
how old are your girls?
my daughters are 29 and 24. And it's funny
Wow.
because every time we say their age, even for your children, we got to think like they're not little girls, right? They're
Right.
growing. The
So,
numbers they're catching us up.
okay, that's what it feels like. And but see, we look like this, right?
Mm,
We look like this. So
yes.
so I also have two. I was blessed with one of each. So I have a girl and a boy. My daughter is 26
Yes.
and my son is 32 and he just got married.
Unbelievable.
I have
And
a little daughter in love, right?
you do. And you
Yes.
have stepchildren.
And
Would
I
you
have
call them that?
stepchildren.
Yeah.
As far as I'm concerned, they're my children.
They're your children.
Yeah. We also
Your
have an adopted daughter. I still like consider her our
Mm.
daughter.
Oh, that's awesome, Lynae.
30 this year.
Yes. Wow. And you're
And
like their sister. I mean, you're the mother, but very youthful in spirit.
they take care of me. They make
Mm.
sure all of this is as a result of my children's input. No, mama, you got to do this. No, you got to do that.
Yes.
It doesn't happen like this. And
Aren't
so
you happy for that? Because they're like your mirror as
yeah,
well, right?
of course,
Yeah.
they are your report card,
Mm-hmm.
right?
They have the evidence.
They have the evidence.
Girls.
And if my
Sometimes,
had to tell these stories compared
yeah,
to my daughter,
sometimes
two
I
different
don't
versions.
it's sometimes it's so scary because they see things you can't see, the blind spot at its
Yeah,
best,
yeah, it's
and
true.
they know all the emotions and stuff. And
Mhm.
sometimes I try to hide it. So that's where I think I am a genius in hiding my expressions because I would think I'm so nervous and nobody knows I'm about to have a heart attack until my
Yeah,
daughter would say, "Okay, something ain't right." I said, "What you talking about?" It says, "No, like I can see it in your eyes, like nobody else would see that."
yeah,
So
yeah,
sometimes I don't like to have her around my space because
right.
I know she knows, right?
Yeah,
But
truth serum. They
they
are
are.
truth serum. Did you share your disc profile with your children?
No. I might have talked slightly about it, but I haven't really gone, and that's a really good idea. That's a really good idea, Lynae. Have you? The blue page, page 6 of your book? Oh, that's a good idea. They'll think I chose my children to read mine.
It was stressful
Yeah?
because
Wow.
I was still coming to terms with it. I actually feel like I need to redo it because I feel like I'm a different person now.
Yes, Lynae, and as you should. I'm about to do mine again too.
But
You
I
should.
will say though, when they read it, and I was like, there's no way I'm this, there's no way I'm that. And I went through this whole meltdown about it because I didn't believe I was a D, right? Um, until they told me the truth about myself.
Mm.
And it was as a result of actually having done disc and sharing it with them that helped me start dealing with some of this stuff and being very transparent with myself. So
Mm.
it has been a very long journey to be able
Mm.
to say, girl, you are a daggone mess and you need to get it together. Once I did that, it it opened up so many opportunities, but I feel like life didn't move on to the next step until
Mhm.
I addressed some of the elephants in the room that I just
Yes.
used to deal with, right?
Yes.
And I was just willing to let life kind of pass me by. This
Mm.
podcast, I was ready to
I
let
know, Lene. I remember your like not just hesitation, but it was just the right time for
yeah,
you. Like it's coming, it's coming. I'm really nervous, but I'm not look at you like you've jumped. Oh, just one other question about your disc. Were you also like a strong dominant, or were you slightly a DI? Strong
straight,
dominant?
straight D,
Yeah. Cause
straight,
I see, and it might not be always this that it's our workplace behavior,
yeah.
but it's interesting how I've seen you in the other spaces, and you are, I won't say you're completely different, but the lighter, the laughing, let it all get loose, girl. Like
That's because
that's
I'm
the
comfortable with you.
yeah, that's what I was like. Yes, take like put the terror on, take
That's
off the sergeant hat and put on the tiara. But yeah, that is like the playful time. And I know we have to be different. Even today, right? Like we had a professional meeting, and it
yeah,
was like professional, and that's how we showed up. And the
yeah.
other time it's like, nope, we don't mix the two. But I'm gonna see her later, and we're gonna crack up laughing. So we get to shift and adjust and adapt,
Exactly.
you
Yeah, yeah.
know. And
Girl,
as you know, but Lene, do you know that you actually are a big influence of my yoga journey?
really?
Mm-hmm.
I knew about doTERRA. Guys, by the way, we do the do doTERRA
Yes.
together. And but yoga?
And
No.
Lene enrolled me into Tara, and
Like
I
I'm
am
a
still a
bushwoman. Everybody
yeah.
calls me a bushwoman. I believe I could heal the entire world with
She can, yes. So going to the yoga thing,
what?
you actually loaned me a pair of yoga pants when
What?
Marcia was teaching here because we you were going, I think, before me.
Yeah, when she did Fusion, when Marcia Pringle, that's a plug, everybody. Marcia Pringle,
Yes.
Fusion. She did. She was doing Pilates and yoga together because I'm not a big fan of, for me,
Mm.
of yoga, but I'm a fan of the Pilates
Right.
piece because the yoga cause you to cross over into some stuff that makes me uncomfortable. At least back then,
Okay. She'll
because
come to one of my classes.
I have been to one of your classes though. I've
Yeah.
been to. Did I take your? No, I did a
Oh,
presentation at
you
your
came
class.
to right. So you came afterwards. But yes, you were
Yes,
still a part of the community.
absolutely. And funny enough, and I know you said when we're gonna talk about how I became a part of it, but coming to that class actually helped me heal in another area, and I'll tell you about that in a minute.
Ooh,
Yes,
okay.
yes,
Oh, wow,
yes.
Lynae.
So
Yeah,
yeah, you know, I
yeah, because you loaned me a pair of pants and they were like olive green with little bootlegs at the back. I killed those pants
oh
because I didn't really own yoga clothes at the time. I didn't workout clothes, but
right.
I didn't have a
You
pair of
were
pants
just
one
so
day.
good in them too.
Yeah, and he's like, girl, take these, girl. That was like my uniform. I swear, Marcy was like, you can go online and get some more different outfits, right? Ah,
They
but
were comfortable.
yeah, they were really I think I still have them. Isn't that scary?
I love it.
But so you did it before me, but and then so using those pants was just like I have yoga pants. They're the only comfortable thing I have. I get to keep going back. And then it just went on from there. But you were very much in the infantry stage
That's
of me not
cool.
even knowing where that was gonna ever take me. And
They're
of course,
small things. I
Yeah,
love it.
Marcy has an impact. So tell me about the it was the October Breast Cancer Awareness doTERRA class.
Yes, yes. So okay, so um, I had this thing, transparency, right? I had this thing about diversity, and I showed up to your class, and it was a diverse group of women, and it was after the class that I had an opportunity to engage with all of the women to one degree or another. And I actually had to go back and apologize to some women as it related to how I saw them because of stigmas attached to
Mm,
certain classes of humans and
mhm.
the journeys they choose for showing up in life. And I had to apologize because I wasn't demonstrating love. There was
Oh.
no love that, and now bear in mind, I didn't carry it on the outside. It was what I carried in my heart.
Mhm.
It was the thing that was on the inside of me. My heart and my mind told a certain story
Got you.
about certain classes of people. And we ended up having a very good heart to heart after that class.
Oh,
And
wow.
I feel and they're a part of my space now. Like I
Mhm.
absolutely love and adore them to
Yeah.
pieces. Like I see them on the street and I want to stop and have a
Mhm.
share life and love.
Right. Yeah. Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah,
Because you made an impact on so many of those ladies. Because
awesome.
I use my oils now, and then we went to somebody's house after that.
Yeah.
Our friend Albina, remember? She was like,
Yes.
"I want oils. I need to give
Yes.
you." But
How
yeah,
is Sophia doing?
yeah. Oh my gosh, she is like fire. Um, yeah, she's part of like a big movement that she likes to try to keep confidential, but she moves mountains in her country.
Love it.
So when
Yeah.
she doesn't come to our classes, we absolutely miss her energy.
So she's
And
still doing that. I love that. Yeah.
yeah, she's still doing those creative spaces
Yeah.
in her country that I would love for her to have, partnered with a team of people here to do that in our learning spaces because it's changing lives in her country.
And
So,
based on what she shared back then, it was amazing. And I would love to see it. It could definitely benefit Bermuda. Like, and that's the other thing. I feel like you put yourself in spaces that open you up to such diverse
mhm.
experiences and diverse people. Like your life is a is a beautiful book.
Mm.
Excuse me, just by like because you have connections in Africa, you have
Mhm.
connections with, Miss
Yeah.
Alvina and the spaces that you show up everywhere and
Thank you.
you wear it. Like I see
Yeah.
you in the corridor some days and I'm like, Lisa's floating today. All right. I love it.
Oh, thank you. Sometimes I'm like, all right, calm down with the color. But I'm like, you know what? This is
It's
where I get to
helpful.
inspire because,
Yes, it's helpful because
yeah.
guess what? I only wear or wore, let me just say, like I was a neutral color person. If it wasn't a part of the earth tone palette,
Hmm.
I wasn't wearing it. And I'm like, oh, I can wear colors to work. Lisa does it so
Yes,
beautifully.
you get to. So you
Yes.
get
And
to.
it's not a rule.
Yeah.
We we can break these barriers,
We
right?
can, yeah, and we're in this really tropical environment. I know I would not get away with it in certain parts of Europe or whatever. I mean, my
Right.
daughter had told me we went to Austria. She said, "Mama, keep those bright winter stuff home. We're not going to Austria and you walk around Sound of Music with this bright
Really.
pink. This ain't working for me."
Oh,
So
no. Okay.
I tell just had my glasses, but she was right. Like I probably would have stood out like a thumb, but she knows
Understood.
like we will travel and I'll show up how I need to.
I
But
love that you show up. I
yeah,
love it.
just
It inspires.
show up. But Lynae, I know that our time we remember we were
It
saying
is.
this is gonna,
It is. It's
it's gonna go
on,
fast.
and I'm glad you spoke on it. But I
Yeah.
do want to speak to our mugs really
Yes.
quickly. So, um, Lisa's mug, guy, says "busy bee," and I felt like it was appropriate because Lisa, you are absolutely busy, but you're busy productive. Like you're not one of these persons who are just trying to cram everything into a space and figure it out, and you look worn and life
Mm.
is beating you down because you're running children her like you're busy. And when we run children, that's a portion of our lives
Yeah.
that's valued and valid at,
Mm-hmm.
but you're in a space where you are very much a busy bee. So you do the yoga. What else do you do?
I'm in improvisation, like acting, improv. I go acting. Well, we call it
Yeah.
improv. Thank you,
Yep.
Jessica Lightbourne, for pushing me that way.
Mhm. Love
um, yeah, I work on. I have a personal trainer twice a week. I I I just it's like events, like different things. But I'm about to embark on a huge
it.
thing that's really going to help bring people to Africa,
I love it.
and that
I'm
will be
coming whenever it is.
yeah, that will be launched. So I'm about to get, do some interesting project. I'm going to the Caribbean pretty soon
Nice.
to work with an amazing group of people. To give shout out
Awesome.
to one of my good friends, Karen Hendrickson.
Hey, Karen.
Let's Rediscover Africa. That's the series that we bought here in
Love it.
November. So I'm launching into that. So who knows where this is going to take me? I might become an airline stewardess. Who knows?
Listen, and your work life puts you in a whole lot of different spaces as well.
Yes,
Right? You
yes.
have really good busy balance, right?
Yes, and
You
I
get to
cross
express
pollinate. You
and
pollinate
you
like
cross pollinate.
mhm.
Exactly.
So
And
thanks for
that's why
bringing
it
that
was
icon.
that's
Thank
why it
you.
was so important. And guys, mine says can it mine says let it be.
Let it let it
Let it
be.
be.
Let
Yes,
it be.
let
Cheers
it
to
be.
that, Lene. Let's really
Cheers to that.
do that.
Yeah.
Cheers. You
So
are
I'm really at the place where I'm just letting it be. If that's what is meant to be a part of my story, then it'll be a part of my story. And it'll be intentional based on what's for me. And that I don't have to show up as anybody else but Lynae Cherie Richardson.
there you
And
go.
shout out
Right.
to my husband, Jamal, who absolutely allows me to live this remarkable life that he encourages me on and he journeys with me on despite how long it takes me to get to it. Like he knows it's coming.
Love
Um,
that, Lene.
Very grateful for that. That's number three is a charm. We'll talk
Mm.
about that another time. But Lisa, this has been absolutely amazing. I like I said to you, I don't believe it's a one and done. I'm looking forward to our continued journey. And thank you for continuing to see it into my life. And thank you for being a harvest in everything
Mm,
that you've done. Like,
thank you,
yeah,
Lynae.
absolutely inspire me continually. And any closing words in our last 10 seconds?
Yes, I just want to say thank you to whoever spent the time to listen to us today. I hope you were inspired in some way, shape, or other. Please support Lynae as she continues to harvest her seed in seedingharvestpodcast.com.
I appreciate that. Thank you for closing me out, Lisa. You guys have a wonderful night. And Lisa, we'll talk soon. Love you all
Yes,
to life. Good
thank
night.
you.
Bye.
Goodbye.